as an example, but that's a good record, isn't it? Right, let's speak to Mark Roach now, because he has plans to start a mental health support group in Shrewsbury, but those plans have, like many things at the moment, sort of been put on hold. Mark, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. What is the scheme, and how have you been affected recently by everything that's going on?
Yeah, it's obviously tough at the moment, isn't it? I mean, obviously, I was, trying to get the group together, and it's difficult, obviously, for people that are struggling with mental health at the best of times to really sort of, come out and do things and be a part of a group like this. So obviously, this is, sort of not helped at all. But, I mean, there are other ways around it that we can sort of look at and speak out about, sort of trying maybe things through social media and phone and email and things like that, just to sort of make sure that everyone's mental health is pretty good at this really tough time, especially with, isolation. It's really, really tough for people with this now on top. It's because obviously when we started speaking, obviously I was messaging you and saying about, getting the group going. And then obviously within, I think, about 2 or 3 weeks, this is now completely changed, so I think people's mental health is, really needs to be looked at and watched over, and, anyone that is, got anyone that's struggling with it, keep in touch with them, speak to them daily, because it is obviously a really, really tough time at the moment. So, yeah.
What was the original idea then? What is this group, when it is up and running, going to be?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was just sort of trying. I mean, originally, I've looked for support groups myself to get help, and I didn't ever really sort of see anything that I thought, that would be, really, really good to go to, or that might help. It was sort of, there was nothing really that I saw. And then all of a sudden I thought, do you know what, why don't I just start it myself? I've struggled myself for most of my life with mental health issues, and I thought, let's just go for it, and let's just see, if anyone wants to just join a group. It doesn't really matter how big or small. I wanted to make it slightly different, where I wanted to make it, quite laid back, almost in a way of, probably a lot of people might think that coming along to a group, we've all got to sit in a circle, semicircle.
Yeah.
We all have to sort of, stand up and say, what's wrong with us? Or it was more about sort of, coming along, for instance, again, going back to like isolation, anxiety, just sometimes just speaking to people, getting to the actual building itself. I know I've sort of struggled myself with, if I know I've got to go somewhere, the anxiety builds up, and it's really, really tough going places. So that would have been, really good for people just to come along to meet other people. And it doesn't have to be a discussion about, say, their depression or their anxiety. It could, that could come at a later date. It would be about people getting together in a room, just sort of talking about anything, so people with isolation and stuff, it's, really, and the depression can really set in. I've been at times in my life where I've not gone out of the house for 2 weeks. And at the time, you don't get out of bed and you just feel very lost and very alone. Sometimes, you do speak to people, or, someone that's struggling with the same sort of problems. And it definitely does help. Sometimes hiding away, you might feel that I don't want to see anyone, I don't want to do anything, but it's much better just to say, just talk, literally just speak about anything. So I wanted to make the group more like that, and then
a social thing as much as anything.
Yeah, because that's what it is. Your social life disappears as well. There's less people around you. It's really difficult, and then you lose your social skills, and your social anxiety goes up. It's a domino effect from one thing to another. Obviously, anxiety's worse, depression's worse. So I just wanted to make it for everyone, just to come along. And the other thing as well, I wasn't going to really have a set venue. I want to take it all round Shropshire. It doesn't really matter if, it doesn't matter if it's a small meeting place. Towards the summer, I was thinking even, an outdoor meetup. Something as well that it's not an expense for people, because again, I've known myself when I've been struggling.
Yeah.
I probably might have been out of work, and I look for, say, private counselling, because obviously the NHS, there's a waiting list.
And you only get a certain number of sessions in a lot of places, and
yeah, exactly. So you might get 7-8 sessions, which is never enough. I mean, I could literally talk, in 7-8 sessions about one thing, maybe the depression that I've suffered with. So I wanted to make it more like that, and just make it more, like you said, more of a casual get together for people that are finding things very difficult.
What's your story then? What has brought you to this point? And just give me a bit of an insight into your life.
I mean, so I probably started. I struggled around when I was about 7 or 8. I had terrible OCD.
Really that young?
Bad. Oh yes, really, really young. I found myself doing repetitive things, but to the extent where, like a lot of people might think, you put your cushions straight, you put your cans straight in the fridge. These were, locking doors, pulling on doors for a long time, washing hands. I wasn't able to convince myself that things were done. So if I remember being younger, maybe sort of switching the TV off and thinking, is it switched off? If I set my alarm, I'd have to keep checking the alarm, because it's about checking things over and over again. It's that repetitive. You can't convince yourself that you've actually done it, and it's really, really difficult. And I struggled. Obviously, I wouldn't go to sleep till late. I'd be up, 11, 12 o'clock still at night, worrying about all these things. Obviously, it affected me at school. And then obviously that sort of went on to, I did okay at school and stuff. I was very, very quiet, very shy. I always suffered badly with my anxiety, really, really build things up. And I probably managed to get about to the year 10, year 11 at school, where I just slowly started to come out of my shell a little bit. And then bang, it was like, oh, school's finished now. I need to leave. I'd spent so long just trying to get myself in a comfortable position at school with the anxiety. I didn't really have time to think about grades and, what I wanted to do. And I haven't really known what I've wanted to do for a lot of my life, because of all these issues have held me back with a lot of things. So,
and I guess you're so busy trying to keep all that under control, you haven't got a lot of time to think about future planning.
No, definitely not. It's a 24/7 battle, really. And I found that even to this day, I always hear a lot of people talk about mental health when they had it, or if it. Mine's ongoing. Mine's, I live through it every day. And again, I mean, I'm the other reason why with the group, because the only advantage I feel that I do have is that I'm able to verbalise things, and I'm able just to sort of speak about it. I don't have a magic wand for anyone. I'm not starting the group up because I have answers for anybody. I just know that perhaps, I've been through a lot. And like I said, I could sort of verbalise things, I can say things, and people will go to me, oh yeah, that's how I feel, or that's how I felt, or that moment, and that's quite a big thing for
and
people.
Just talking about it without looking for answers unburdens, I guess, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I had some counselling when I was about 25, I think, and I thought at the time, well, there'll be a magic wand and they'll get rid of it for me. I think I even went to see a hypnotist as well, because I just wanted rid of it. But I realised at the time that counselling's a tool. It's very good for speaking and opening up. And I've probably had about 4 or 5 different counsellors over about 10, 15 years that I can go back to. And if I'm struggling with something, I can open up and I can talk to them.
For those who haven't experienced it, if your major issues are anxiety and then depression arising out of that, what does it feel like to you? How would you verbalise it?
It's a tough one. It's ongoing fear. It's a lot of pain. Sort of every day when you wake up, it's a challenge. It's very scary at times. It just affects everything. Socially, for instance, I've always struggled socially. I'm much better now. I think with age and trying, and I've always fought it as well. I've never sort of gone, right, it does get hold of me at times, but I always think, no, if I don't do something, I think, right, okay, I'll leave that for today, but I'll get back to it. So I've always managed to fight it. I've never let it win. But it is like a constant living in fear.
And that's quite tiring. constantly having to battle it.
Really, really tired. It's I say it takes so much out of you. A lot of self-sabotage as well. I'm always, my biggest critic. I'm always very tough on myself, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist as well, so, but yeah, it's just it's a daily battle. And I say probably it's like trying to get over a big brick wall every day, and you only get halfway up it. Sometimes you get over it, sometimes you fall back down, but it's really tough. Yeah.
So when you decided to set this up, are you looking for are you open to anyone who's got any sort of mental health problem?
Absolutely, yeah. Every age, race, gender, it doesn't matter. Even if people say, maybe there's a parent out there that's got a teenager that's struggling, and the teenager might not want to come along, but the parent could come along.
Okay.
And they could get involved. They could listen to some stories, and they would probably perhaps pick up on things, that they might think, oh, okay. Because it's so hard. Like I said, the counselling's very expensive to go to. It's obviously difficult getting in at the doctors. There's nowhere but, you can go. There are some more, there's a bit more help on the internet and things like that. There's like forums. But again, it's sometimes better just to be in a room of people that are actually struggling, and you can sort of, tell each other stories or tell them about your difficulties.
And I guess at least a room full of people with knowledge of the system can signpost as well.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've had this probably now for 30 years, so I've got 30 years experience of it. So if it was a job for me, I'd be top of the pile. Do you know what I mean? So
obviously,
sorry.
The current environment is quite, I would imagine, triggering for people with anxiety issues. So have you and people found the whole coronavirus rolling news story quite difficult?
Yeah, it's very difficult, obviously, because it's the unknown, and I think everyone's really struggling with it. People that might not have had mental health issues themselves, it might be very difficult. But again, people now having to go into isolation, that's going to be really difficult for them. And I've myself, I'm concerned about it. I'm worried for myself, my girlfriend, my family, my girlfriend's family. It's difficult. So it's really ramping up, the anxiety because it's the unknown.
Do you get coping mechanisms when over 30 years? Have you found things that help, or is it an ever-changing beast?
It's really. I've always struggled to find things to get over it. Like I said, I do fight it as best as I can. There's the breathing techniques, but in the moment, it's very, very difficult. I remember once someone said to me, "Why don't you go and have a holiday and get away from it all?" And my answer to that was, "Well, no, because I'll be there."
Yeah, you're taking your own brain with you, aren't you?
I've got to take my brain, but I can't. It's very, very difficult to get away from, because it would be, for instance, going on holiday would be new stresses, more anxiety, a new environment, new people to be around. So it is very, very difficult to sort of get away from it. There's little things that I do enjoy. I enjoy going to the gym and training, and I enjoy my football and things like that, just to get away from it.
And release really some good endorphins and all of that.
Yeah. And as well, just like me and my girlfriend will just sit and talk for like a couple of hours just about different things, and I always feel really good after that. That does help.
Is a bigger part of the battle just accepting that it's part of you and knowing when to not sort of let it happen, but almost knowing when you need to park something for the day and say, I'll come back and finish that tomorrow?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's really important, because again, like I said, I'm very tough on myself, and other people are as well. And there are the days that there's many days that are going to be tough. I mean, there was one point in my life where I would say struggle, have a bad day, and that would lead into probably me having 4 weeks where I was quite bad. I felt probably quite isolated, didn't really want to speak to anybody, didn't really want to do anything. Gone on. I mean, I might have, say, a bad morning, but I can pick things up by, say, the afternoon. And that's offensive. Even just by doing the small, if I'm just at home, I'll just sort of get my brain ticking, get moving, just do a little bit of washing up in the house, just to start the ball rolling of doing things and getting your brain active again. So I'm much better myself at sort of that's just come from years of sort of bouncing back up and down. And it's like being on a tightrope and you're sort of balancing along the whole time and you slip off.
Routine important.
Pardon?
And is routine important, and having solid things, solid parts of your day?
Yeah, obviously keeping the mind occupied is a good thing, and obviously trying to have an active life as possible, being in work, obviously. But there's a lot of stresses in life as well, so it will, as I've got older, obviously, there's more things, paying bills and things like that. So they do add to the already difficulty with the anxiety and things like that. But yeah, definitely a good routine, being active, doing things. Like I said, I've always found that the gym's helped me just to, blow the cobwebs off.
Yeah.
And anything sort of something like that. But again, even just, as I said, just being around people, and I said, with the group, I think that it would be really good as almost, like I said, it doesn't have to be, come along, we're going to fix you. We need to talk about social anxiety, stress, eating disorders, body dysmorphia, and nothing like that. We could just...
It's something to do with people who understand.
Yeah. And I wanted also as well to maybe sort of, organise activities to do, just one time we could all say, right, okay, how does everyone feel about, say, going out for a meal or going bowling or something like that? Because I know how difficult it can be to go to places, and especially if you've been obviously isolated for so long, and it is really difficult, and you've got to train yourself up with your social skills again.
So in the meantime, and we'll get you back in when the group's sort of ready to be up and going. But in the meantime, you mentioned potentially putting some things out online to maybe make a few connections. What were you thinking?
Well, I mean, at the moment, obviously, because I'm sort of all a bit over the place with myself and that as well. I mean, it's literally, I've got a Facebook page, I've got an Instagram, I've got email. If literally at the moment, if anyone just wants a simple chat about how they're feeling with their mental health, then just certainly just get in touch. I think at the moment that's probably the best way of people trying, they're knowing they're not on their own. Obviously, there'll be people that are, very scared at the moment with this virus, amongst other things as well that they're suffering with. So, get in touch, have a chat. Pretty much we could, if we want to talk about anything else apart from this, really, because this is everywhere at the moment. So you just need a bit of a break from the news and what's going on, and you've not been able to go out, or the shops are crazy at the moment as well. So it's all really a tough time, isn't it?
Is that all right for you? Not too triggering for you to be sort of contacted and all the rest of it?
No.
That's okay.
That's absolutely fine.
What is it, just a case of searching you out on social media then?
I've got Facebook, Mark Roche, that's ROCHE. On
Brilliant.
Instagram, I'm Mark Roche71, and email is markroach@hotmail.com. So I said it's the group will definitely take off at some point, without a doubt. It doesn't. I'm hoping to sort of spread it around Shropshire. And, if anyone's got any ideas about like it in a certain venue, or even, with a small gathering in a pub when eventually, hopefully they get back open, somewhere like the Quarry in Shrewsbury. So these are all places that you can go that's free. You don't have to, have anything expensive or flashy, a big venue or anything like that. And we could take it from there, really. So, yeah.
Mark, sounds like a brilliant idea. Keep in touch, and we'll get you in when we can, frankly, and when you can start meeting up with people.
I know. Yeah, let's hope so. Yes. Brilliant,
Mark Roche. Thank you very much. So, Mark Roche is starting a mental health group. So, I think that's a brilliant idea. Now, 0808 100 96 96. If you've got something that might help get people through this difficult time, or anything happening in the county of Shropshire that you think people need to know about. What I would say is that on the BBC News website, there is an article about protecting your mental health through the coronavirus outbreak, and particularly coping with the 24-hour rolling news. Obviously, we all, journalists, want to bring you all of the information you need, but it can be quite overwhelming. Obviously, the World Health Organization has issued some advice that basically says avoid watching, reading, or listening to news